marks the final day of the qualifying period for the 2023 fall elections.
Yeah, Alena Noakes joins us live from the Rapides Parish Courthouse with the final count of what candidates are running for statewide and local races. Alena?
That's right, guys. The field is official for the upcoming fall election. That means the stage is set for the governor's race. And during this qualifying period, there were not many surprises. We've been tracking 7 candidates already so far for this election. All of those qualified, along with 9 more, meaning we have a field of 16 now. So it's pretty crowded. Turning to our local races, some of our state representatives and senators are facing a challenge to keep their seats. In Avoyelles, Armando Ramos is looking to unseat Darrell Desautels in District 28. Desautels defeated Ramos in 2019 with more than 60% of the vote. And legislative seats are safe for Grant Parish, though. In Rapides, there are several races with multiple candidates. For Senate seats, that includes Mike McConaughey and Alan Seabaugh in District 31. For House seats, that includes Jason DeWitt and Trish Lala in District 25. Sandra Franklin and Reddix Washington, who want to unseat Ed Laverdane in District 26. And Todd McKellar against incumbent Rhonda Butler in District 38. And in Vernon, a few unexpected challengers. Former Mayor of Leesville, Clarence Beebe, wants to unseat Ronnie Schermerhorn in District 24. And William B.J. Jones, is challenging Chuck Owen in District 30. For all sheriff's races in Avoyelles, David Dozot faces a challenge from 3 candidates to keep his seat. Those are Todd Tigu Gaspard, Sean Mayu, and Harold Parite. In Grant, incumbent Stephen McCain will face off against Kenny Chandler. In Rapides, incumbent Mark Wood will once again run against Chris Klossner. Wood defeated Klossner with 51% of the vote in a 2019 runoff. And Sam Kraft in Vernon Parish is the only sheriff in Sinlaw to have avoided an opponent. Of course, these are only a few of the statewide races we're tracking. We're also tracking those for Attorney General and Secretary of State, as well as several local races, which include police juror and clerks of court. You can find a full list of those who qualified over on our website at KALB.com. Brooke, Dylan, back to you.
All right, thank you, Alena.